Hello, I'm going to play some Tetris Effect Connected, and I'm going to play the classic score attack mode, which was added when they made the Tetris Effect Connected upgrade to the original Tetris Effect, which was, I guess, a free upgrade. I don't know, I didn't have it before then. Okay. So to get to the classic score attack mode, you have to go to multiplayer. And play local match. Then you have to go all the way down here, classic score attack. And, oh, I gotta change my layer option. Oh no. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm close to unlocking the next avatar. And, this should still be set up, match options. Okay, and last time I was trying the AI at increasing levels. I was able to beat the decent AI score, so I guess I'll try average now. Just got this beep, 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 boop, boop going. Oh no. No, I'm losing. Yeah, take that. Oh, heck. Oh. Well, this got awkward. Real awkward. Real awkward. I was looking at the Game Boy Tetris on eBay today. Because I've reordered a... What do you call them? An analog... Analogue Super Nt, which is the FPGA Super Nintendo thing. which was kind of impulsive of me. I suppose it wasn't anything I had been planning to do. I just happened to see that they were open for pre-order again, and they're saying that this is the last time they're gonna do a run of them or something. And it's like, well, heck. Because there have been a few Super Nintendo or Super Famicom games that I have sort of lusted after in my heart from time to time. And I realized soon after thinking about it that, of course, you can play Super Game Boy on those things. And that means I could play Game Boy games. That means I could play the original Tetris. I was looking at prices on eBay, so I guess it was a little more expensive than I had thought. It seems to be listed anyway. I don't know how much it actually sells for, but listed for about 15 to 30 bucks, or maybe 25 bucks for the US Tetris Game Boy. There is the Japanese version, which had never quite occurred to me, which goes for maybe $5 or lists for maybe $5 less. So that might be something I would consider. I'll have to look up if there are any actual significant differences between the two versions. Because back in the day, I had the US one. Never even occurred to me there was a Japanese one. Of course, I was a kid back then. It should have occurred to me since then, I suppose, but, you know, haven't spent a whole lot of time thinking about such things. At least not as pertain to Game Boy Tetris. There's also, there's this interesting thing I hadn't realized about the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy. I mean, I never had a Super Nintendo, never had a Super Game Boy. So, there's a Super Game Boy, and apparently it's not quite perfect reproduction of a Game Boy hardware. There's like some kind of timing difference so that it actually runs the Super Game Boy, that is, the US Super Game Boy, or the Super Game Boy 1 as it may be called. It actually runs Game Boy games slightly faster than they'd normally run in an actual Game Boy, which means that not only are they running slightly faster, they also, like, their pitch shift, their sound is slightly higher pitched because it's going faster, I guess. So apparently to rectify that issue, Nintendo made they made a second version of the Super Game Boy, but they only bothered to put it out in Japan. So in Japan there's a Super Game Boy 2 that never came out in the States. But of course this Analogue Super Nt thing can play both Super Nintendo and Super Famicom cartridges, so, you know, I could, if this thing ever actually comes out, they say it's gonna ship in the second quarter of this year, so that could be anywhere from 6 weeks to 5.5 months, I guess, from now, in theory, unless it's delayed. Yeah, so the Super Game Boy 1 runs Game Boy games slightly fast and slightly higher pitched than normal, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe the faster speed is not a bad thing. I mean, Game Boy games were not exactly known for their blazing speed. Oh, there goes the CPU. So maybe it's like a turbo button for your Game Boy games. Playing them in the Game Boy, the Super Game Boy. Doesn't sound too bad to me. Shoot. And anyway, the Super Game Boy 2 also seems to list for about like $65, as opposed to the Super Game Boy, which lists for something more like, what was it, $20 or something. But actually, I ended up, so I bought a few things. I had intended to hold out until I actually get my hands on this Super NT, just, you know, because who knows what could go wrong, and I might never get it, and that would be silly to have, like, you know, games on my hands that I don't have the hardware to play. But I found some things that I couldn't resist snapping up. And anyway, I was looking at the Super Game Boy 1, I guess. Well, I was looking at Japanese game listings as it happened, and the Japanese version of the Super Game Boy goes for less, like a significant amount less. So I just ended up getting a Japanese one. We'll see how that goes. I should have put that in the other spot. Well, maybe not. It's going kind of fast now. I don't like this. And, yeah, and so likewise the... Oh, shoot. The Japanese Game Boy Tetris goes for slightly less. Oops. Ah, jeez. It's getting messy. I was trying to remember what my high score is. I don't remember. Oh, the piece rotation's making funny noises now. Oh dear. Oh dear, dear, dear. Oh dear. Good, it's too fast. Shh. I'm not handling it well. That was not good. Holy shnikes. 104 lines. I think that's about 20 lines more than I got last time. Yeah, I got a C. I got a new avatar. Speed level 10. It seems high. I don't know. Is it? Let's go check out the avatar. That's probably about all the playing I can do tonight. I see I was trolling, I should say, trawling eBay for a little too long. There was like this guy, I think it's a local US seller, but he had like 500 Super Famicom games, and I didn't want to miss anything. I could be a Nabla. I don't think I want to be a Nabla. I mean, that's cool and all, but I like the moon with a little weird comma on it. Well, got a chunk going to the next avatar. I guess we'll see what the next one is. It's funny when you're the default avatar is like, when it's a guy, they sit there like kind of shadow boxing each other and doing all these fancy animations. I wonder if there's going to be any other avatars that have that level of sort of interactivity or something. the moon just kind of bobs. I don't suppose Nabla does much. Maybe it spins around once in a while. I might as well pick a Nabla. It'll be different. So, yeah, so what did I... see, the annoying thing is it doesn't track local high scores. Which is too bad. At least I don't think it does. Like, if I... so I beat... what was I playing? I was playing 4. I just wanted to see if it would... no, it doesn't show high score there. And I don't think it shows it under rankings or anything. Oh, wait, what was that? My records. Oh. I mean, see, call me crazy, but I just want to see, like, you know, highest score in classic score attack or something. It's all like, well, there's classic store. Oh, that's only wins, though. You only get to see your score if it's connected to an online mode win, I guess. Yeah, this is multiplayer. So this is the only single player stats. And it doesn't even track those for me. Because, oh, well, yeah, because I'm not playing single player. Technically, I'm playing multiplayer. But it doesn't have multiplayer local. Even though that just says multiplayer, it doesn't say it's ranked. Sigh. But it looks like it's all connected to wins, and I'm only beating the CPU, so I guess that doesn't count. And if I go to this rankings, I don't think it lists me in here. No. There's classic score attack wins again. Whoops, I wanted to see that actually. You have to wait for it to refresh before you can toggle the filter, which is annoying. I don't want to see PS4. I want to see my score, which it'll say no data. Connected verse wins. Now it just doesn't care about me. I just want to see high score. No, it doesn't do that. It's weird. Oh well. So anyway, that was, I think, my high score. And I got a new avatar, so that was fun. The music in that mode is so fun, and oh, and I beat the difficulty 4 CPU this time, which was what, good or whatever, I don't know. So that felt nice. And then it just, oh man, once it got to speed level 10 or however that works, it was just, I couldn't really handle that. That was embarrassing. I never actually was really good at Tetris when it gets fast, but yeah, so maybe in 5 months or so I'll have I'll get the Game Boy. I'm trying to resist buying it now. I ended up buying the one that got me actually buying stuff today, which I hadn't planned to do, was that I found what I hadn't realized, because I think I just got the idea to look at Technos Japan's list of Super Famicom games or something, and on GameFAQs, and it turns out they had one I didn't know about. Well, they probably had some others I didn't know about, but they actually had a wrestling game I didn't know about that came out relatively late, and it's named after the most famous professional wrestler in Japan, whose name, of course, I forgot. But so it's like his name, and then the middle of the game's title is hybrid wrestler, and then there's a Japanese phrase after a colon, and the Japanese phrase means martial art something or other. Anyway, it's a Technos Japan wrestling game, which is cool because I like how their wrestling games feel. And I saw a video of this online. There actually isn't that much video of it on YouTube. Not a real proper video even. So hopefully I'll be able to make one of these days. It looks cool. It's also got intensely Japanese menus. It's got a creator wrestler mode. But see, I don't even know, these Super Famicom games, if they used battery backup, then those batteries probably ain't in good shape anymore. So I don't know if you could even, who knows if the career mode thing would work, although I'm sure it's probably a relatively simple operation for someone who knows what they're doing to replace a battery, but I don't. But I just want to play it. I think there's just normal, you can just play, pre-made wrestlers, and they're not even named professional wrestlers. They're sort of inspired by certain professional wrestlers, except for the title guy, of course, who's the actual person. But yeah, it just looks like a really nice Technos Japan action game, and I'd never even heard of it before, and so I was kind of happy about that. And then I just happened to look on eBay and found like just a card-only listing of it, kind of beat up. Well, not really even beat up, actually, for like $10. Actually, it was like $11, but then the seller gave me a discount. Because I put it in my... Well, anyway, I got a discount, so it was like $10. So that's pretty sweet. So I got that, and then while I was looking, I realized that there were some other games I'd been looking at that were cheaper. The Japanese versions were cheaper. For instance, I was planning on getting Combat Tribes, which was another Technos Japan game, a beat-em-up, which only ever came out on Super Famicom, and SNES. But the Super Famicom version is cheaper, so I got that. The Japanese version of another beat-em-up, Final Fight 2, is cheaper than the Super Nintendo one. The Super Famicom one goes for less on eBay. And there was one other... and then the Super Game Boy one is pretty cheap in Japan, I suppose because they have the Super Game Boy 2. But the Super Game Boy 2 goes for like I was saying, it goes for like $65. And, I think I'll just take my turbo boosted Super Famicom 1 for a quarter of that price, or less than a quarter. So I'm pretty happy with that day's little online shopping there. I'm not going to be able to play this stuff for another probably 5 months or something if the run of the Analogue Super NT, even comes to fruition, but it should, so I'm optimistic. So I'll have original Tetris in theory. Well, so I'll still have to buy Tetris. I was so tempted right before this. I was looking at Tetris on eBay, but I didn't pull the trigger on a Tetris card. I figured they've been around this long. They're not going to be going anywhere in the next 5 months. I was a little panicky at first because the first listings I looked at were like 25, close to $30 for the US version. I was like, gee, I didn't think it'd be that expensive. But then I scrolled down, there were some cheaper ones, and I kept scrolling down, then there were Japanese versions for even less. So yeah, I gotta look up the Japanese version, see what the difference is really. It's got a cool sticker on the card. Okay, well, I gotta go. Thanks for watching. Good night.